There's so many students now that are approved for a student visa and they're about to come here to Canada. And if you haven't checked our last video about the pre-arrival, please do watch that. But in this video, let's talk about the possible questions that you'll be asked upon arrival here to Canada. Hi, this is Ashley Planner again, and welcome back to our channel. And we help aspiring international students who want to study and live here in Canada. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you are subscribed and also like this video if you want to see more videos like this for our aspiring students here in Canada.
When coming to Canada as an international student, you might think, what's the big deal? I just pack my suitcase and book my flight and arrive. But there's actually a few things that are different and different questions that they are going to ask you at the airport. And we want you to be prepared and not run into any issues. So that's why we made this video. We will give you many tips. So grab a pen and paper and let's go. Starting with your flights. When you book your flight, the most common airlines from the Philippines are Philippine Airlines, Japanese Airlines, and Korean Airlines.
And then you're going to see a lot of cheaper flights that go through the US. When you're booking for that flight, make sure that you don't need a US visa.
The next important thing is arriving in Canada. So your flight might go to Toronto first or Vancouver, and then to a smaller airport where your actual destination is. The study permit will be issued at your first point of entry. So if you have a stopover in Canada, make sure that you have enough time until the next flight, because you might be waiting in a lineup for a few hours and then be held up with the visa officer for a couple hours as well.
So you don't want to miss your next flight, so make sure that you have at least 4 to 5 hours layover. So when you arrive to Canada, before they issue the study permit, they will ask you some questions. The first thing they're going to ask you is the letter of acceptance. So you just have to make sure that you have all the documents with you. So we made a video about it. You can watch it after this video, but letter of acceptance is one of the most important documents that you have to bring when you cross the border. And if you have the tuition fee receipt deposit, bring it with you. And another important document that probably they're going to ask you is the approval letter when you got approved for the student visa.
Another thing that they likely ask you is if you have travel insurance or health insurance. We actually work with an insurance broker, and he told us stories that some students call him from the airport, being with the visa officer, because they need the insurance to get approved and get into the country. So make sure that you have at least 3 months of travel insurance. Depending on the province, it takes longer or not as long to get the provincial health insurance.
So the next possible question is, what will be your program here in Canada and how long are you going to study here in Canada? So just in case you change your school or you change your program, let's say, you have to tell the border officer. So it's okay to change your school and keep the same DLI, but if ever you change your school outside Canada, you might have to apply for a new student visa. So that's important to take note. And another thing is when you change your intake. So it's important to share that information as well to the border officer.
Yeah, and one thing that many people don't know is that the actual study permit is being issued right there at the airport by the border officer. So he can edit it, he can make changes to it, and it's not like you might expect the study permit to come in the mail when you get approved. No. One thing you're always being asked is, where are you going to stay? What's your accommodation? So if you're staying with a relative, then have the address ready, the phone number, contact information. If you're staying in a hotel or an Airbnb for the first week or so, have the receipt for that you can show them. And then what if you arrived way too early? What's the rule on that?
When you arrive too early, they're definitely gonna ask, why are you too early, since your study, let's say, will start in September and then let's say you're 6 months early. What are you gonna do in Canada, right? So they're probably gonna ask for some bank documents. How can you support yourself? So let's say you are arriving early because you want to visit a relative, then tell them. And then again, you have to have a proof.
I
right?
don't think 6 months is okay though. If you're 6 months early, they'll send you back home.
So don't go to Canada too early. The usual is
What's the
1 month.
The max is 1 month.
I mean, not the maximum. Some people go here like 2 months before the intake, but they do visit a relative.
Okay,
It happens.
No more than 2 months early.
Yeah, but a month before the intake is the ideal month.
And if you're coming early, then the question is, how are you going to support yourself? Because remember, you cannot start working until your program actually started. So the visa officer also wants to know about your proof of funds. Make sure you have those documents ready, bank certificates, receipts that you paid the tuition fees.
Guaranteed investment certificate.
Right,
Yeah.
GICs, anything. You can also bring cash, though we would not recommend to bring too much cash just for security. And the rule is that you cannot bring over 10,000 Canadian dollars on the plane, or else you have to register it.
Another question that I was asked at the airport was the food, and they asked me if I brought like raw meat with me or in my suitcases. So basically I brought some canned goods with me, but again, double check the list and I'll put it in the description box. You should be aware on what to bring and what you can't bring here to Canada.
I feel like that's a very Filipino problem. What kind of food am I allowed to bring?
We're afraid that we won't be able to find food for us here.
Yeah, there's lots of grocery stores. We have a lot of food in Canada. And there's even many grocery stores have the Asian aisles where they have lots of things like the Filipino tuna or different snacks. There's spam and all that stuff. So, but in general, there is obviously many things that you're not allowed to bring. And you can check the website that we're gonna put in the description. But when it comes to food, no raw food, no fruits and vegetables is kind of like the general rule.
So what's the main reason why they don't allow you to like bring meat?
It's because there could be different bacteria and animals and insects. And they don't want any foreign what do you call that?
Foreign
Invaders,
bodies.
bugs, and
Oh yeah, that
because
can.
it's a huge problem. There's beetles. There was the beetle from, I don't know, Australia, and it
Yeah.
ate like all the maple trees in Toronto. It just killed them because it didn't have any
Oh
predators.
yeah, I remember that. I saw that tree. So if you have finished this video until the end, congrats and welcome to Canada. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. Paalam.